Hey! Ow. That was not good. Let me try that again. Hey everybody, I'm the Respiratory Flux. Call me Flux for short, or whatever you want to call me. Maybe not just everything. But anyway, in the last episode, we came here back to Phendrana Drifts. Got a couple small things here and there. And now that we have our ice beam, we are heading on our way back to to this part of Phendrana Drifts. Also, if you missed that door lock scan, you could probably just go into a place with some of those and scan it then, but that's not always the easiest thing to do, I guess. I don't know why I keep saying things like that, but anyway, we have our ice beam, so now we can explore further areas in the Phendrana Drifts. There's wildlife that's moved into here now. Best to not bother it. I think this is the spider ball track that takes you onward. Yes, it is. But now that we have the ice beam, we can actually go more places in this part of the Phendrana Drifts, past where we fought Thardis. So yes, basically, this whole last few episodes of the game was getting the spider ball so you can get the ice beam, so you continue exploring past where you got the spider ball. And guess what? We're going to be getting something past here that will allow us to continue exploring near where we got the ice beam. It does that. There's an energy tank in here that you can probably see pretty plainly, but we can't get that yet, unfortunately. It's kind of a pain that you can't get something so obvious. It's so obvious in how you would get it. In this room, which will be kind of going around a lot, I think that's actually another chance to scan the ice parasites. Also, I fell into the water. This thing will be annoying for a while. The gel zap. Basically, you have to shoot it when it opens, but that can be easier said than done. But anyway, this room, it's one of those vertical rooms again that getting back up once you go to the lower part of it is an adventure in and of itself. Now, if you notice, it's very close to the end of the exact up and down thing of this is very puzzling, because if you look at this, we are clearly somehow at once rotating it to view it from the bottom and rotating it to view it from the top. This game makes no sense sometimes. But clearly there's a path here between the research core and this room, which doesn't always prove to be that useful, but it can be a nice shortcut if you're trying to backtrack through all this area looking for stuff in the end game. Basically, past here is a short little hallway that leads right into the heart of the research facility. But we don't need to go back in there yet. Or really much more, ever. There's only a couple things we have left in that part of the game anyway. But what we do have left to do is continue exploring in the frozen wastelands of the edge of Phendrana. Well, no, this isn't quite the edge. Although it is. There is actually a specific area in this area that's referred to as the edge. No, not the guitarist from U2. Oh. Okay. This room is shaped oddly, I must admit. This room gives us a couple new scans, including this, which is the Hunter Metroid. Don't see these too much in anywhere, even not even in this game. But basically, freeze them and break them with a missile, just like you would any other Metroid, really. And then this thing, it doesn't do anything to bother you, but you can basically grapple onto them and they become a mobile grapple point. It's weird. And you won't really get to use that for a little while because we don't have our grapple beam yet. Surprise, surprise. But this area has a few things. Shoot down to stalactites. There's something under the ice there. You could probably guess what that is. But there's also a save point here, which basically I just loaded that enough to register that I had been into the room. You can see there's obviously a stalactite up there that we can't really reach from down here, so we'll have to come back and get that later. I think you can see what's going to happen with that room in general. Now, this room has some really neat graphical effects with the spider ball. But other than that, it just serves as a hallway. Now, this is actually Phendrana's edge. Got some flying pirates here. So, yeah. Once you handle them, they aren't really a threat anymore. Of course, that's the definition of handling a threat, is making it to less of a threat. Can't go upward because no grapple beam again. That's starting to become a trend, is not having a grapple beam being an obstacle. You don't see that as much in the early parts of the game, but now you do. And now you're also forced to go underwater, even though it limits your mobility. Oh, and that's another thing that's annoying about the gel zaps, including that one right here behind me. If they damage you with their electrical attack, they actually make all of your heads-up display blank. After fiddling with your visibility in general, of course. Once that happens and then goes away, the threat of having everything blank out is relatively minor, because it's brief enough that it doesn't really even matter. They're still annoying, though, because they do fuzz out your visor for a short second before that happens. Anyway, basically we are now in the lower part of the tunnels leading back and forth in this area. And this room yeah, that was a gel zap, like I thought. Break these stalactites. Oh, I hit one of those flicker bats with it. in midair. That's kind of cool. Now, that is not cool. Get out of the water, Samus. Do not want you in the water. No. I used both of my jumps too quickly. That's the problem with the space jump, is you only get 2 jumps, and if you don't time your second one right, you might not cross the gap. You're trying to. But let's climb up on this stalactite we shot down. And looks like we have to take another little detour to get up to the other top side of that room. We're going underwater again, though. Isn't getting waterlogged and impeding our progress, isn't that getting slightly annoying? Well, I don't know. Here we've got a new kind of Swispers. The Aqua Reapers. Basically, they are vertical because they attach to the seafloor, generally. Seafloor, we're not even in the sea, we're on an underground lake in a cavern. This room is kind of confusing because not only does the water damage your mobility, but also your visibility. So it can be hard to tell whether you're going in the right direction or not. But if you can make your way through the rather similar looking different areas of this room, there's something quite useful to find. Also, if you hit the gel zaps where they aren't when they're open, but in the side part that doesn't take damage, they will basically just close. But yes, here is our nice little upgrade, just sitting here randomly for no reason other than the fact that we kind of needed to get out of this room. And here we have probably my favorite looking suit in this game, personally. Gravity suit acquired. Yes, purple, yellow, and red may sound like a strange color combination, but it just works, in my opinion, here. Plus, you have underwater movement no longer being hindered. So now being underwater is just like being on land. It actually also improves your visibility a bit, too. So that other thing I complained about just now, nope. I love the gravity suit. It feels right having it. And what does the morph ball form of it look like? It doesn't look that much different, but it's got a cool blue tint to it rather than the green. And I don't know, I just like it. Do I sound like I'm gushing? Because I kind of am, and I apologize if that's the case. But I really do like having the gravity suit, and I like the way it looks, and it just kind of is nice. Anyway. You see that? You see all this ice here? You can basically... You can't destroy it by hitting it with anything, but heat will melt it. So, basically that's a thing. But this ice is also at the root of one of the more annoying potential glitches in this game. I will make sure to point that out when we can actually do something about it. Got that sentry drone there that's now out of our way, and here we are back up at the top of this room. Now, be careful. Don't fall back down, especially not getting knocked down by these flying pirates that are now in here for some reason. because if you fall down, you don't actually have the ability to get back up here without going all the way back through that loop again, and it can be kind of tedious to do that. So, yeah, just don't. That looks like you would be able to jump up here, and you actually can, but there's no reason to. I actually didn't really know that you could specifically jump up there, but now you can. Now I do know that you can. Now that our movement is not impeded by this, we can just go on like usual. And voila, we have worked our way back to this vertical room. And really, that concludes our business here in Phendrana Drifts. Now what we do is go back to the Chozo Ruins. I'm going to say first, because there are a couple points that you might have noticed that I was trying to get somewhere and water was stopping me. That would no longer happen now. But really the next place where we have to go is over back in the Talon overworld. So I will try to get back on track as soon as possible, but I suppose it's kind of a thing I like to do, is once we've established a, shall we say, once we've like done a little bit of the storyline, and not even so much storyline, is just main item collecting progression more than anything else. Because really, the only story beyond the general purpose of what you're doing here and the backstory of the game is that you're collecting items that will allow you to go such and such a place, that lets you get more items, that lets you go such and such a place. That's just how the Metroid series does. But I'm digressing. We are back in this room with the best collision physics ever. And I'm getting brutally killed trying to show them off again. So I will stop. I don't care about these flying pirates either. I'm getting hit and I don't care. Sirs, get off of my back. Literally. I like how I totally missed that while trying to jump across. Yes. More longtime fans of the series will probably recognize this as a remix of music from Super Metroid, but I still associate it with this game more because I played this game first. I know that sounds like blasphemy to a lot of hardcore Metroid fans, I suppose. Well, I don't know. I tend to be, as much as I like the series, I tend to be sort of non-traditional in some of my opinions about it. And that might just be because I'm a latecomer to the series in some ways. I remember reading about Super Metroid back when it was a newer game and popular. Well, not even new at the time. It was because I would remember reading about it in older issues of Nintendo Power that I found lying around the house. My parents actually had a subscription to Nintendo Power before I was even born. I think I once found the issue we got the year, not the year, the month that I was born. So that's always been kind of a fun memory of mine. And so I remember seeing things about Super Metroid and even the older Metroid games, so I kind of knew that the series was popular, and I probably already kind of liked it, even though I'd never gotten a chance to play any of the games. The first game in the series that I ever actually played was Fusion, and I played a borrowed copy for a little bit. Then I immediately decided to go out and get my own so I could play the rest of the game. I don't regret it. But yeah, for that reason, Fusion and Zero Mission are probably my favorite 2D games in the series, because the original, like the NES version of the original Metroid, Metroid 2, and even Super Metroid, I just cannot control them the way that other people can. I feel like I might have said this before in this series, but I can't remember, or I can't remember that vividly if I have, even though I did the editing for this fairly recently. But I don't know, there's just some things about Super Metroid's controls that I can't quite grasp for whatever reason. I can't even understand. It's just everything feels kind of slow. I don't know. Fusion and Zero Mission's movement feels a lot more fluid to me somehow than Super Metroid's does. I mean, not without reason. It's a newer game. You'd think they would have things controlling better. But a lot of people I've mentioned that to say, no, man, what the hell? You have that completely backwards. But also, Invisible Platform that I managed to luck out and find the first one of, but there's a whole chain of them, and I don't know where the rest are. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I've never been I have a copy of Super Metroid. I have played it a few times. I've gotten fairly far in it, at least a couple times. I think I even beat Ridley on one file, but I lost that file like every other one I've ever played. I'll explain. My cartridge has a faulty save battery, and I can't save a game and turn off the system and expect it to stay. It's also a little weirder than your standard dead save battery, but that's a tangent that's a tangent to a tangent to a tangent, basically, and I don't feel like going quite into the details of that yet. I'll probably do that in the next episode, because I'm fairly sure I'm going to have to cut it soon. But yeah, I mean, to that extent, the jumping in particular in Super Metroid just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. Can anyone, explain maybe if I'm doing something wrong? But I don't know. But yeah, to that extent, I feel like I'm a bit of a non-traditionalist in the terms of the series, if only because of that. And also, I love how I can stand on top of the save point in this room. I never really tried that in a lot of places until now. But yeah. But yeah, I think that's going to be the end of this episode. So respond, vibrate, feedback, and resonate in the comments below. I will take constructive criticism. No hate mail for some comments I made in the last 5 minutes of this video, please. I really don't need that kind of thing. And anyway, well, with that, I will meet you right back here on top of this save point at the beginning of the next episode, where I might explain things about my copy of Super Metroid. See you then.